So, good evening again. My name is Lara Kaufman, and I'm a stroke survivor. I'm not a stroke victim. Some people use these words synonymously, but I do not. The difference in the meaning of these words is simply perspective, yet it makes all the difference in stroke recovery and in life. It's been studied and proved that resilience can and will make a difference in your recovery, but you have to see it that way. Saturday, February 13th of 2010 was the first day of my new life. I was on the ski slopes of Collingwood, Ontario, and it was a bright and sunny morning. Valentine's Day on Sunday would complete a perfect weekend. I and my husband, Peter, nephew, Matthew, and then 10-year-old twin daughters, Nicole and Kaylee, and my 8-year-old son, Russell, had driven up from Toronto as we had done several times before. Looking forward to another wonderful and relaxing day on the slopes. After a few runs, we took the chairlift back up the hill and began to walk to the start of the descent. During this walk, my pole got stuck under my ski. In order to dislodge it, I yanked the pole up hard, but instead of pulling straight up like this, I punched myself in my neck hard. It was and is still impossible to imagine the damage a seemingly innocent act would cause. It's only later that I learned that I'd hit my carotid artery and that the blow had caused its dissection, which in turn resulted in the blood clot. The clot later dislodged, and I had a massive stroke on the top of the hill, most to the right frontal lobe. On the ski slope, I had classic stroke symptoms, blurred vision in my right eye and dizziness, as well as I had extreme facial droop on the left side of my face. My husband called for ski patrol, who then called 911. The children were left in the care of my cousin, who luckily happened to be there, and I was taken to 2 hospitals before I ended up at St. Michael's in Toronto. And that's where we learned that I'd had this massive stroke and there was significant brain damage. The next 48 hours would be critical as I passed in and out of consciousness. The stroke was causing significant swelling in my brain, and if allowed to continue, could result in further brain damage and possibly death. A decompressive craniotomy is the neurosurgical procedure in where the skull is removed to allow a swelling brain room to expand without being squeezed. The doctors were very concerned, and a decision had to be made soon as to whether I was going to need one or not. I had one 4 days later. I remained in the hospital for 4 weeks recovering from the surgery. I was paralyzed on the entire left side of my body, but grateful to be alive. My brain didn't recognize my entire left side at all. And I couldn't feel anything or move anything. In addition, I couldn't drink liquids and I had trouble eating solid foods. I had no idea of the difficulties that lay ahead. I undertook numerous assessments and then I began physiotherapy. After a month, I was transferred to Toronto rehab. And in addition to left side paralysis, I had short-term memory loss as well as the loss of other executive functions, and my eyesight went kaput as well. My brain injury was mostly to the right frontal lobe, which affected my left side. I was very fortunate to have been at Toronto rehab. The exceptional team there helped me get my life back, and I'm forever grateful. In the beginning, I don't think I was really aware of what was going on. I just kind of went through the motions of doing what I was told. I was in what they call survival mode. From what was explained to me, I also displayed little emotion as my ability to express emotions was also affected. So I was like flat. It's better, but there's still somewhat of a monotone to my voice when I hear myself. It's a lot better than it was in the beginning. I also had a significant impairment in attention. When I got home from the hospital, I couldn't eat my breakfast and read a magazine at the same time. I would either read and forget to eat or eat and forget to read. Although I can do that now, I would not be able to speak to you and say what I want to say without reading. That's kind of why I keep looking at my notes. One day I will make it a goal to be able to do this with maybe cue cards. That's kind of a goal of mine one day. It was there at Toronto Rehab that I learned to walk again, dress, toilet myself, and learn how to accommodate my memory and my deficits. I was an inpatient for 10 weeks, and then I had 12 weeks of outpatient therapy after being discharged. Since I didn't have to organize or plan anything when I was in the hospital, I realized a lot of my deficiencies in executive function until I got home. Asking for help in the beginning was really difficult because I didn't want to be a burden. Someone told me to reverse the situation and how would I feel if I had a friend who had a stroke? Would I feel like they were a burden to me to want to help? Of course not. That advice really helped. And I've met lots of people who feel like they don't want to ask. They were independent before, and so that's so normal. And yet, just flip the roles, and you'll see it. People do want to help genuinely. People are kind, and they want to help in many ways. I remember when I came home from the hospital, I was completely dependent on others. I felt useless. A friend told me that if I friend told me that even if I'm just sitting on the couch like a blob, I still had roles to play. I was still a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, and a friend. And these people needed me. That gave me purpose just by sitting on the couch. Um, when I was discharged from Toronto rehab outpatient, I sought out private PT and OT to continue my physical and cognitive recovery. In addition, I continued to remain a patient in the spasticity department of Toronto rehab because I have a lot of spasticity. Well, less now, and I'll explain that later. Shortly after my spasticity was discovered, I started receiving quarterly Botox injections in my calf muscle and many of my hand and finger muscles. At first, I was told that would it would help the tight muscles relax for a few weeks to allow movement in the opposite muscle. If I performed rehab during those weeks, I could possibly regain movement. No such luck for me, though. My doctor then discussed continuing the injections as a maintenance protocol for me to be able to perform a 30-minute daily weight bearing exercises and mitigate muscle shortening. Since the procedure was covered by OHIP and my private insurance covered the drug, it made sense. I was waiting for something revolutionary to be developed, and I'll talk about more of this later. I had a lot of sensory changes as well. My eyesight, as I said, didn't wear glasses before, other than maybe like little readers. My taste buds changed, and my left hand and foot were very sensitive to touch and temperature. It was 10 months after my stroke that I had a seizure. It was determined that it was due to the scar tissue in my brain injured area. I started taking anti-seizure medication, but I still had another one 5 months later. My doctor switched medications, and I've been seizure-free ever since. And that was May 2011. So I've been seizure-free for a long time. Being seizure-free, along with a green light from my OT, allowed me to pursue getting my driver's license back. I had to wait a full year from the second seizure to go through the assessment. Fortunately, I never had another seizure, so I was able to go for it. It was an amazing feeling to be able to drive again. I had a driver assessment with an instructor and an OT. I had to take several driving lessons to learn to drive with a spinner knob and a flicker extender. And I had to have a driving exam with an examiner. Not everyone needs to take the exam, but on your limitations after the assessment. Example, if you don't need you may not need to have a driving exam. When I arrived at Toronto rehab, I was told I had a dropped foot. I was given a custom orthotic to wear to ensure I didn't trip over my toes when I walked. A year later, I heard about a device called a Bioness, which is a functional electrical stim device. With every step, it would dorsiflex my foot. It was great because it also encourages neuroplasticity, so the brain could do it itself. Despite all these tools, the orthotic, the Bioness, and the Botox, I still developed a contracture in my calf about 3 years post-stroke. Psychiatrist at Toronto Rehab recommended surgery to lengthen my Achilles tendon. This was great because it gave me full range of my ankle, but it did cause my toes to curl, and then I became unbearable to walk. I then had to have major surgery to reconstruct my left foot. You can show the first slide. Julie?
Okay, here we go. I am sharing screen.
The foot picture, the lovely foot picture. Shoot. No, it's out of order. Oh my God, I don't know what happened.
Oh no. Do you want me
I don't
to?
know what happened to the foot picture. Is it not there?
I'm just gonna scroll and find it. Sorry. I'm just gonna scroll and find it and then share my
Yeah, it
screen again.
should be the first picture, as I thought it was. Let me go and see. Oh, wait a minute. I no, I it's my mistake. Okay, anyways, it's a gnarly foot picture, but forget it.
I have it. I can show like if just give me 1 second and I will show it. I know I have it somewhere. Here we go. Okay. Okay, here we go. Y'all ready for this? Can we all see this picture?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one.
So yeah, that I don't know why it didn't come through in the thing, but anyways, looks like all the other pictures are there. Yeah, so this was after surgery. It was as painful as it looks.
Yeah.
Um, but despite a 5 month recovery process, the surgery was a success and my walking improved by over 75%. I started winding down most of my PT and OT about 10 years ago, and I joined a gym where I perform most of my rehab as well as work out my entire body to keep up with my busy life. I find the gym provides me with energy I need to function day to day. I've learned a lot over the last 15 years. We're not in control of everything in life, but we can control our reactions to them. I simply don't dwell on the negative because it serves no purpose. It won't help me improve, so I focus on what I can do instead of what I can't. A few years ago, someone asked me during one of my presentations how I became so positive. I told them that about a few years post stroke, I remember sitting on the couch and I was started recounting all the things I could no longer do. And I got sad real quick. I'm sure you guys have all been there.
Yes.
And I immediately stopped myself and realized that those kinds of thoughts were so unproductive. And I quickly said, like I kind of slapped my hand and said, stop. And I said, okay, let's start thinking about the things I could still do. And immediately I felt better. From that point on, I just started looking for the good wherever I could and kind of just, again, just like sort of went, stop it, and when my thoughts would go dark and just go, where's the positive? Where's the positive? So look, and anytime I speak to a stroke survivor and they start telling me, their story, I kind of listen and I listen for the good because there's good in everybody's story. Not all bad. There's good. And I remember years ago, I went to my friend took me to see her rabbi, and he said, I want you to make a list of everything you're grateful for. So I said, okay. He goes, I want 5 things. I could come up with one. It was my kids, my husband, and that was it. And he goes, I want every day you to kind of add to the list. And so I did. And probably within a week, I had come up with 5 things. And he goes, we're going to work up to one day. You're going to make a list to what you're grateful for your stroke for. I looked at him and said, kindly, F off. Like, no, like it's not happening. I will never be grateful to the stroke for anything. But he was right. And I mean, the people that I've met, um, the experiences that I've had, I am grateful to the stroke because it taught me so much about perspective. And when you meet, I've met a stroke survivor who was homeless. He is so grateful to his stroke because from now on, he will be in long-term care. He'll have a roof over his head and 3 meals a day for the rest of his life. I met another man who was an alcoholic and he was couch surfing when he had his stroke. And he's grateful because now he's sober and he will live a lot longer because he's not drinking to extreme anymore, drinking at all. These are just some examples. I mean, I've just talked to so many people and met so many people with amazing stories. And so because of that, I just, and in my own life, I just realized that there's so many positive things. And when you think about the positive and you look for the good in your life, it feels better. It doesn't like some days are crappy. Yeah, you're going to be tired. You're going to feel like crap. But if you didn't have a stroke, everybody has good days and bad days. So that was kind of went off a little bit there. Plus, I guess also for me, I really wanted my independence. I didn't want to be a plant that needed to be watered. And I found a mentor who gave me hope. And I saw improvements in my recovery, and it motivated me to continue. I'm going to talk about how you can do this yourself as well a little bit later. I've learned a lot about the stroke recovery industry and about my own stroke recovery. And I believe that knowledge is power. And the more I educated myself, I could seek out the best recovery path. And I did, and I'm going to talk about that too. I also learned that 10% of people who have a stroke die. So if you're here, that's something to be grateful for. I also learned that scientists only discovered neuroplasticity in 1978. That's 46 years ago. It's a drop in the bucket. When you think about other diseases they've been studying for hundreds, if not thousands of years, 46 years is nothing. In fact, my OT a couple of years ago at Toronto Rehab told me that they're making tremendous headway in stem cell therapy, improving recovery to almost 100%. And I actually saw on television a couple of weeks ago that spinal cord patients like Christopher Reeves are now walking due to this some stem cell treatment. And the help for stroke survivors is coming. It's around the corner. The best thing about a positive attitude and optimism is that they are free. It doesn't cost anything to be grateful. In fact, it can improve your recovery. One of my favorite quotes is Michael J. Fox. Gratitude. Can you show that one?
Yes, I can. Here we go.
With gratitude, optimism is sustainable. If you say that a few times over in your head, it actually makes sense. And Michael J. Fox for me, he's not a stroke survivor, but he's been to hell and back, and so he's definitely an inspiration for me. This quote and my education on the industry taught me how to accept today while still having hope for the future. Positive thoughts can lead to acceptance when you focus on what you can do versus what you can't. It allows you to be your best every day. Positive thoughts help build resilience. Resilience is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. There's a saying that I learned. This has been around for decades. There are two guaranteed things in life: death and taxes. Well, I have a third. Do nothing and nothing will happen. If you work hard towards obtaining your goals, you can reach 10%, 50%, or 100% of them. You don't know what you're capable of until you try. I've experienced this numerous times, and it's what keeps me going. Also, don't forget one more thing. If at first you don't succeed, try again and again and again and again. Never give up. I haven't always found success of a new task on the first or even second try. Sometimes it's the 10th try. Does it get frustrating? Yes. So I ask myself, how badly do I want it? And if I really want it, I keep trying. A few weeks ago, I saw a post, I think it was on Thrive's Facebook page, or maybe it shared something. It was where a gentleman showed a graph. You can show the next slide.
This
is
one.
a graph. It shows I don't know if you shared it. I saw it on Facebook. What we hope recovery looks like, which we think it's going to be this linear, line going up. And then what it feels like when we're stuck, which is in the incline, then we plateau. But what it actually is an incline, a plateau, and another incline, plateau, and it goes on and on and on. I have plateaued so many times over the past 15 years, I can't even count. And so this is not just a myth, it's actually truth. And I've met so many people the same thing. And what upsets me is my neurologist told me, you've got 2 to 3 years to recover. And it's just not true. And I'm going to show you some videos. There's a video of me outside.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I'm going to stop this and then I'm going to share this. Hold on one second.
I couldn't figure out how to share it from screen.
Okay. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Do we all see this?
So this was me to about 2.5 years post-stroke, and they told me this is as good as it'll get. And I was walking fast. This was my fast.
That was 2 years out, Lara?
That was 2.5 years out, yeah. Okay. You can stop that. Now, there's another video of me walking.
Yes.
And this was taken a few weeks ago.
1 second. Here we go. Oh, it's sideways. Let me see if I can flip it. It's going to be sideways, but you'll get the gist. You see that?
Yeah.
Everybody turn their computer sideways.
Once all plants have arrived, it's time to clean them up and prepare them for plant. Removing rock wool from potted plants, removing gel from in vitro plants.
But you can see there's a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
And so again, if I listen to what the doctors say,
That soil. I usually just get everything.
it's just not true. And the only person that told me that that wasn't true is my physiotherapist. He said, you know, that they because I don't know, I don't know why they do that. I think they just don't see many patients, maybe so many years later, and that's why. But I have met so many people who've said, my doctor told me I'd never do this again or that again or whatever, and they've surpassed whatever the doctors said. And so, I mean, if I could get $1 for every person that's told me that they've done more than what the doctor told them, I'd be very wealthy. I don't believe in false hope, but no hope, but no. It's like again, I understand they don't want to give you false hope, but no hope when it's not true, and they're making so many strides in the industry and so many improvements and stuff. It's just, and my neurologist said to me years later when he saw me walking, he goes, "I think I have a lot more to learn about the human will." And that combined with all the studies and research, it's a winning formula in my opinion, and I'm living proof. People ask me all the time, how do you stay motivated? My answer is to document your improvement, either by videotaping physical activity or speech every few weeks or months, or journaling other improvements with dates and timing. I suggest this because we tend to forget, you know, the improvements. So unless we're doing something the way we would have done it before our stroke, then we don't see the improvement at all. So I write down how long it takes me to get dressed, you know, every year maybe. You know, when I first came home from the hospital, it took me 45 minutes to get dressed. Now I do it in 7-8 minutes. And no, and I didn't just do it then and 15 years later. I did it kind of so I could know how early I had to get up in the morning before to meet my first appointment of the day. Because at first I had to get up really early just to get dressed because it took me so long. And I hate getting up early. So I would time myself, go, okay, well, now I'm at half an hour. I can get up 15 minutes later, and kind of did that. That's just one example. You can measure anything you want to improve on, but journaling it, documenting it, videotaping is really so important and really will help you motivate you to keep going and stuff. Because if you don't see it, you don't realize it's there. Learning about what's happening in the industry, as well as a thirst for knowledge about my own recovery, put me on a better road to recovery because understanding what I need to do helps me every day with all the tasks I do and at the gym. So I'm not just working out, not just working harder, I'm working effectively. In fact, being educated has been a game changer for me. A little over a year ago, I saw a lecture on spasticity from a doctor in Victoria, British Columbia. He had developed a brand new treatment called cryoneurolysis, whereby he injects a very cold needle at minus 88 degrees. Actually, you can show, there's a picture.
Yes, I have that one. Here we go. 1 second. This.
Yeah, this was the needle. It was very
Oh.
painful. What they did was they injected this needle into my nerves and literally eliminated my spasticity.
Oh.
And it was incredible. He's only been doing this since 2021. And so I went in June of 2024 to Victoria to have him do this. And
What did he inject into you?
he didn't inject. He injected a needle,
Oh,
very cold needle. And what it does is because it's so cold at minus 88 degrees, it creates an ice with the water in your muscle creates an ice ball, and that ice ball effectively destroys the nerve. When you destroy the nerve, it destroys the spasticity because the spasticity is kind of like the middleman between the brain and the muscles. And so the nerves do grow back, but it takes 6 to 9 months. So as compared to Botox, Botox gives you a 3 to 5 week window. This gives you a 6 to 9 month window to stretch and strengthen, and hopefully, you know, the spasticity, when it does come back, it's so minute because you've got voluntary movement.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool, amazing. And the doctor's name was Dr. Paul Winston.
Cool.
If you want to put that in the chat, you can. Or
Dr.
he's
Paul Winston.
He's in Victoria, and so when I went, so it was covered under OHIP. You do this on your calf, yes. He treated my hamstring and one of my quad muscles. And my walking, I improved I walk 30% faster now since I went.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and I have now, my tricep was so tight before you couldn't move my arm at all. Now I can actually, my bicep is actually, I've got some, I'm not where I want to be yet, but my bicep is moving. I can actually bring my hand to my mouth with the help of the stim device. But the stim device, because you're working with a big muscle, it helps, gives you some assistance, but not entirely. I've improved a lot. It's been amazing. Plus, he treated my pec, so I walk taller because my pec muscle
Uh,
was so short.
Lara,
In the
what
States,
is
there
it?
are so this doctor is training doctors all over the world right now. It's limited. There was a doctor in Philadelphia that was there when I was there, and I don't know if
What's
he's open
and
clinic yet.
what's the procedure called?
Cryoneurolysis. And if
Uh,
you, there's a great YouTube video called If you Google in YouTube, if you put in the search bar cryoneurolysis,
I don't
no,
know if that's how you spell it, but
I'm gonna, it's
yeah.
CRYO.
Ah,
You had it right, except CRYO, neurolysis. And if you put in cryoneurolysis spasticity into YouTube, there's a fantastic video. Yeah, that's
cool.
it. So there's like a 30-minute video that is amazing and explains the whole procedure. And there's people who speak on it and patients stuff. It was incredible, game changer for me for sure.
Cool.
There was a woman who did it who she could put a ponytail in her hair. She couldn't even lift her arm. She presented the same as me, and now she could and then that was my inspiration because I've been trying to put my hair in a ponytail for
Oh,
15 years. So not there yet, but I'll get there. Um, so yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Now I'm going to tell you a story of what it means to keep trying and not giving up and setting goals. In June of 2019, I gave a speech to stroke survivors, and I talked about the importance of setting mini goals throughout my journey because it's hard to stay motivated for a long. No, not yet.
oh, sorry.
That's the punchline.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'll
It's
leave it
okay.
like that. Go ahead.
I said it's hard to stay motivated for a long-term one that's likely to take years. I started talking about my walking goals. I said that my original goal was to walk 5 kilometers because that's what I used to do pre-stroke. When I was transferred to Toronto rehab after my stroke, I couldn't even sit in a wheelchair, because I had no trunk support. After 10 weeks of inpatient therapy, I still needed supervision with walking. Walking just 5 feet without assistance was extremely effortful, so I did it several times a day so it wasn't so hard. Then I moved on to walking to the front door, which is about 30 or so feet. The first time I did it took so much effort, I was exhausted. But eventually it wasn't so. Then I started walking outside. I'd walk a half a block and back. Then it was a block and two, and then eventually I could walk 4 blocks to my kids' school. On the day I spoke in 2019, I could walk 1 mile on the treadmill in 24 minutes. 1 week after that speech at a monthly physio appointment, I told my physio that I had set a record that day and walked a mile in 23 and a half minutes. Cutting my time by 30 seconds was a big deal for me. So he goes, "You should do the 5K this fall." I looked at him like I was completely off his rocker and said, "There's no way in hell I can do that." At the time, I could only walk 1 mile on the treadmill, and I still held on. He said I should trust him because he believed I could do it. I said I would think about it, and the only reason I said I would think about it is because every time he suggested I do something I didn't think I could do, he proved me wrong every single time. So I started walking and walking. My first goal was 1.5 miles, then 2, then 3 on the treadmill, and then just walked for longer periods of time and faster. Kind of felt like Forrest Gump. Now you can show that slide.
Um, I'm the worst sharer. Here we go.
So that's what I kind of felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So just leave it there, and then
Yeah.
so then in October 20, go to the next one now.
Um, Here we go.
In October 2019, I completed the Scotia 5K in 1 hour and 27 minutes. I was elated. A goal 9.5 years in the making achieved. So as I said, recovery is about goal setting, and more importantly, mini goal setting. Now that I can walk about 6 or 7 kilometers at one time, my next goal isn't about distance, it's about speed. I want to be able to go on a walk with my husband at a reasonable pace so we can walk side by side, because he doesn't like to walk as slow as I do. So at the gym, I just increased my pace. The doctor in Victoria treated one of my quad muscles with cryoneurolysis, and now I walk 30% faster. I said that already, but Um, from the beginning, I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. I didn't need to know the reason, but rather find the meaning in life. Spent the first 2 years looking for it, and then I was told to stop looking because when you're meant to find it, you will. But I also want to divulge that although I have a positive attitude and I am very grateful for all that I have, it doesn't mean I don't get angry or sad. And I am, in fact, human. Last time I checked. And I can get angry or sad, and it's not normal but necessary. I allow myself these moments as long as I can pick myself back up and move on. 11 years ago, I started volunteering with March of Dimes Canada as a peer counselor to stroke patients at Toronto Rehab. That's actually where I met Julie.
Yeah.
Every week, I would meet with stroke survivors and try to give them hope that life would be better once they're discharged. Once the pandemic hit, I started meeting with stroke survivors in the community virtually. I use the mountain analogy. Stroke recovery isn't a walk in the park, but it's more like climbing a mountain. It involves hard work, perseverance, and a heck of a lot of patience, but the view from the top is spectacular. 2023, March of Dimes honored me with their Volunteer Changemaker of the Year award. It feels amazing to win an award for something you love doing. I showed that picture. Next one.
Yeah.
I've not only been rewarded with an award, but with something way more valuable. Because of my accident and my life being pushed in the world of rehabilitation, I had a front row seat to all its healthcare workers. When my daughter was in grade 12 and had a love for kinesiology, I encouraged her to research the PT profession, as I knew she would excel at it given her newfound love of how the body works and her compassion for people, especially with those with special needs. She graduated from U of T 18 months ago and is loving her career. She found passion in both neuro and pediatrics, and sometimes both combined. Show the next picture. This is her grad picture.
Yeah.
Little mini me. You see, it really boils down to perspective and attitude. If all you can see in front of you is what you can't do anymore, wish to turn back the clock, your future can suck. However, when you accept it and focus on what you can do, you may accept that anything is possible and you can work hard to achieve it. I'm hopeful that my visits with patients are helpful to them, but I can say with absolute certainty they are very beneficial to me. Giving back, whether it be a peer volunteer, UHN patient partner, or a proud fundraiser, has made me a productive member of society and given me purpose, my new normal. Finding a new normal is something I think we can all relate to because of the pandemic. I think we're finally there. Now I'm going to tell you an important story about perspective. On February 12, 2014, my husband was taking our daughter Nicole to school. He wanted to know what she was thinking and feeling, so he started the conversation. Nicole, do you know what tomorrow is? Nicole knew exactly the significance of the day, and she goes, yes, it's the day Mom had her accident. Nicole wanted to celebrate my near-death accident. She told my husband that she wanted to celebrate all my hard work and all that I had accomplished. He suggested that they celebrate by buying a cake and to decorate that cake with a special word. He wanted that special word to come from her. So when he asked her, without hesitation, she said, accomplishment. Next slide. The following year, my daughter Kaylee chose the celebratory cake word, and it was transformational. In 2016, my son Russell chose heroic. Next slide. 2017, my husband was in charge and chose the word grateful. He also changed it to donuts. 2018, it was my turn to choose the word. Since I'll never give up, I chose unstoppable. 2019, my dad picked the word inspiration. 2020, my sister and brother-in-law chose champion. In 2021, my sister chose charitable for all the charity, all the volunteering that I do. In 2022, my other sister was quite a negative person. She actually came through and chose tenacious. In 2023, my close friend chose Shiro. Although not a Webster-defined word, it is a heartfelt one meaning feminine hero. Last year, my other best friend chose the word beautiful. No explanation necessary. In 2 days, another close friend of mine is choosing the word, but I don't know what it'll be. Hope comes to mind for me. That's 2 days is my 15-year stroke anniversary. It's hard to
it
can't
is.
believe it's 15 years. Yeah.
Oh my
February
goodness.
13th.
Oh my goodness.
People often don't understand how we can celebrate such a horrific day, for they find it difficult to see the greatness that came from that day and how now guides our lives. I'm truly grateful for all that I have because I have a lot to celebrate in my life. Thank you. That's it.
Yay. Oh my goodness. Um, uh, I'm gonna open it up to questions and comments. But I'll just say first, Lara, like I met you right, like I'm almost drawn to tears. Like I met you right at the beginning of my recovery, and it was just so like you were the beacon of hope in that moment. Like because I had not met a stroke survivor that wasn't in raw and in the hospital. Like
Yeah.
you were out there, you were like talking, you were walking, you were laughing, you were living your life
Yeah.
outside this little rehab hospital where all of us patients were struggling to try and find our way. And like week 2, week 3 in rehab, I was just like lost and dark and very upset and like struggling and trying hard and trying to keep the faith and trying to keep optimistic. But also it was a struggle. And just having you like sit there and talk to me for like an hour, I think it was a long time the first time we spoke. It was like, I can't even tell you how much that helped.
Yeah, they told me I was only supposed to do 10, 15 minutes. I said,
Oh my God,
I don't
she took
know.
forever.
I do what's good for the
What's
patient.
needed? What's needed? Yeah. So it was just like that was like, and I'll never forget like having those first conversations. And every time you came back, like you were the one that was like, "Oh my goodness! So like you're doing this, you're walking better, you're sitting up better, like you're drinking water that you couldn't drink before out of a straw." Like all of the things that you noticed had me be like, "Oh yeah, I am doing these things," you know?
Yeah. That's why I find documentation is so important,
Yeah.
because what happens, especially in the hospital, is the physios or the OTs, they tell you you're improving and you don't believe them. You're like, oh, they're just saying that. They say it to everybody. You know,
Yeah.
that's what we kind of believe because we don't see it ourselves.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes, visitors will say, oh, I see improvement, but until you see it yourself, you don't believe it. So when I saw, videotapes of me walking, and I could see it, watch it side by side. I see now, and now I see what they're talking about. Even if you can lift your arm this much more than you could the week before, unless you see it, again, you're not gonna you can't you're not you can't measure like this.
Yeah.
So you kind of if you video that's why videotape is important. Or if you want to do something faster, like that's why I time myself. I time myself in the shower. I time myself getting dressed. I time myself with stuff just so I'm planning my day and stuff. And um,
Yeah.
you have to see you have to see it to believe it. Yeah, you do. And it also motivates you and allows you to kind of keep going when you start to see, oh, I see. Yeah, I improved this much. Okay, it's not a lot, but it's something. It's more than I had the week before working. And especially now that I'm doing this, now that I'm working on my arm really for the first time. And so I did in the beginning, I did work on it and I got nowhere because the spasticity kept sort of setting. I take 2 steps forward, 1 step back every time. And so when I saw, and I did Botox for 14 years and I got nothing. I mean, I was able to but even like I was told, I didn't till they expressly told me, maintaining the malleability of my fingers is actually progress. Because if I didn't do those daily exercises, I would have probably had developed a contracture in my fingers. And then once you develop a contracture, you can't do anything. So I did those exercises to maintain. So I didn't lose whatever I had gained, and that maintenance is actually progress. Doesn't seem like it, but after you make years of doing it, you go, oh yeah, okay, now I see, I'm glad I did it. And I did it even when my husband, people say, you have to do it every day. Take a day off. No, I wouldn't take a day off.
Yeah.
Or sometimes that's not true. Sometimes I didn't do it on Sundays, just to give myself a break. And I've learned, and that's the other thing too, giving yourself breaks is important. I think I always need to be kinder to myself. That's something that I struggle with. I don't know if other you guys do as well. Yeah. Any other questions?
Anybody else have anything that resonated with them? Anybody
Yeah, Haas?
say something?
I have a question.
Yeah, great.
So, Laura, do you still do any Botox or this
No,
new rhinolosis?
I did the crown license in June. I don't think I'm gonna do it again because I don't need to, because the spasticity is at bay. Like it did, like it's come back a little bit, but so minute that I don't need to do it again. At least
So
not now.
okay. So are you doing a lot of like exercise in the gym and stuff like that?
Yeah, and I mostly at home actually because it's easier at home. with
Okay.
because I need a table, and it's just easier with at home. I don't have to bring. I use my cane to do exercises to stretch
Okay.
all the way back and stuff. And
Right.
I still want to bring the cane to the gym, but
Right.
I do the my most of my arm exercises. Some of it I do at the gym, but some of it I do most of it I do at home.
Do you use ThoroBand or anything?
Not yet.
Not
Not yet.
yet. Okay. Okay.
I'm working my way up to that.
Because I'm still doing Botox, and be honest with you, it's not working.
Yeah, that's why I did so cryoneurolysis. I'm talking in talks with the higher ups at Toronto Rehab to try and bring it. And I heard a rumor that they're starting to train some doctors from Toronto. So it should be here sometime, hopefully this year.
Yeah.
So people won't have to try. I was very upset knowing that I had to travel across the country to go get this procedure.
Yeah.
That it wasn't available in Toronto, in the biggest city in the country.
Yeah.
So but I did go because, and it didn't cost me. Well, HIP covered, and the research grant that they had there covered everything. I had to pay my travel costs,
Right.
and so my husband and I made like a mini vacation to Victoria. We'd never been, and spent 4 days there, and it was one day at the hospital. And the best part about the procedures, they do it's called a nerve block test in the morning with lidocaine. So it's like a trial run. So every muscle that you want to inject, they will inject, and it only lasts a couple hours. And so then once it wears off, then it wears off. And then if you don't like the effects, and the effects are immediate, if you don't like the effects, they won't do the cryo on those nerves. So they injected lidocaine into two of my quad muscles. One of them, they did the cryo on. The other one, after the lidocaine, my knee buckled as soon as I put weight into it. So we knew we couldn't treat that one because I wouldn't be
Okay.
able to walk, and I wasn't giving up my walking for the spasticity because you need some tone. I need some tone to walk. Um,
Right.
so, but that's again, that trial run is so key because you kind of do it. If you don't like it, they do what they do. What works, what doesn't work. And the doctor there's been doing this for years. He's treated hundreds of patients, and they've had tremendous success. And the side effects are maybe some bruising,
Mhm.
um, maybe minor swelling. I didn't have any swelling. I had a little bit of bruising, but that was it. And then like the next, and I was exhausted by the end of the day, but the next day I woke up, I was completely fine. And I slept so well that night because my arm wasn't, I didn't wake up with a tight tricep, but I couldn't bend my elbow. It was like, just bend it like this. Like,
And you
and
said it was on your left side, right?
my
Your
left.
left. So, how is your left arm now?
So my left arm now, so I can, this is my right arm. I can bend my arm. Um, I can do it. I have to block my deltoids getting stronger at the same time. So
Oh,
as my deltoid's getting stronger, and so is my bicep, I can't sort of do a bicep curl just yet because
okay.
my deltoid gets involved. But if I'm my but when I if I could can't turn around because I have arms
No,
on
no,
this
no, go
chair. But
ahead. Go ahead.
if I put my arm into the back of a chair and I block it, I can then bring my arm up.
Okay. Okay.
And
So
I
that's
couldn't even move it. I couldn't even move it past like
so you came from where you were, and you came a long way for your
a
arm
long,
because.
and it's been 7 months. No, well, the first 3 months was all I did was
Oh, okay.
stretch. My muscles were short. Every single muscle
Okay.
on my left side was short.
Wow.
So
That
15 years of not moving them, right?
that's amazing. That's amazing. That's like what do you call it? A milestone, right?
It's a game changer because
Game,
now, yeah,
great.
and
Yes.
my walking after 3 months, my 3 month follow up, my walking was walking 30% faster. Um,
Wow. Okay.
and my passive range of motion improved by 30 to 40%. My
Okay.
active range of motion by about 10 to 20% because I had some in my shoulder before. So active range of motion improved by 10 to 20%. This was at 3 months, and it's gotten better. And passive range of motion 30 to 40%. Walking improved, walk faster 30%. So yeah, that's a huge 30% is huge.
Yes, it is. It is. Thank you. Sorry it took long.
It's okay.
You may have mentioned this already, but what was the cost again? And did you mention if it was covered under OHIP?
So the visit with the doctor was covered under OHIP, and he had a research grant there that covered the everything. So it cost me nothing other than my travel, just my travel costs.
Oh, I see. And when did you get it done?
In Victoria, British Columbia,
When was it?
in June of 2024.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
But hopefully it'll be here in Toronto, hopefully within the year.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. I've heard that a couple times.
Yeah, I've heard rumors, so that he's training some doctors now. And I'm hoping
Yeah.
that Toronto Rehab said they're going to bring it. They have to train the doctors first. So just
Yeah.
they go to get their training, and they have all the probes that they use and the needles aren't expensive. It's the ultrasound equipment, and Toronto Rehab already has that. So hopefully, I'm hoping within the next 12 months it'll be here.
Yeah, that would be great. Then I could just go there instead of all the way to BC.
Yeah,
I also heard from somewhere, I don't remember where, but Montreal might be getting it as well. So even that would be closer
he's training
than BC.
when I was there, he was training a doctor from Saudi Arabia, from Philadelphia, and somewhere else. I can't remember. It was Spain or somewhere else in the US. I can't remember. He was training 3 or 4 doctors. And the doctors go there for like a week or 2, and they train and they treat and they learn the procedure. These are all physiatrists, by the way, that are doing it. If you watch that video on YouTube, it's really impressive.
I'm gonna check it out for sure.
Cryoneurolysis spasticity. Just put that in the search thing and you'll see it.
Did you have to wait like a certain amount of time or not do Botox in order to do that?
Yeah, I didn't do Botox. As soon as I made the appointment in February of 2024, and my last Botox was December 2023. So I was supposed to do Botox in April. I didn't do it. Yeah, because I didn't do it, and I was fine. I was really tight when I went. By the time June came around, I was really tight, especially when the weather gets cold. Anybody who has spasticity can probably relate. It was really tight. But now, like, it's remember the first barbecue we had in July, we had a cold snap. And I was at a barbecue, and normally my arm is up to here when the cold comes in. And my husband said to me, "Look, the arm is down." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're right." Couldn't believe it. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And there's just so many more treatments and stuff coming out, like with everything. I mean, the research when it comes to physical stuff, I don't know the speech stuff because it doesn't affect me, but I know that there's been strides made there. There's music rehab is amazing. Yeah, so there's just lots of stuff, and learning about what's going on in the industry helped me sort of know. So when I saw this presentation on cryoneurolysis, I immediately called the doctor, set up a virtual appointment. He said I'm a great candidate, made an appointment, and flew out there.
Cool.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is the chrononeurolysis similar to a nerve block? Because
No, the nerve block is with lidocaine.
okay, so I get Botox, but it doesn't work. So they've now referred me to get nerve block. And nerve block is supposed to last 6 months. I'm primarily getting it on my toes because my toes curl so much that it hurts to walk. And I've been told not to get it on the arm because then I'll lose function in the arm. But I don't know because my hand is fisted and my arm is so tight with spasticity that the doctor that wants to give me the nerve block says I should try it. It wears off. So I was just wondering if it's the same or similar.
I mean, something that lasts 6 months, I've never heard of it. So I don't know what the nerve block is injecting. Like this, the cryoneurolysis doesn't inject anything. It just puts a very cold needle into you and uses the water in your muscle to create an ice ball. So, and if it's actually designed, well, it was designed originally, it's been around, the procedure's been around for like 50 years, but it's been around for pain, not for spasticity. This doctor went to Europe and learned they were doing it there for spasticity, and so he brought it to Canada. And the lidocaine, the lidocaine nerve block test that they do, lidocaine only lasts a couple of hours because it's like what they use at the dentist. So that's the only nerve block that I'm aware of. And it's temporary. Something that lasts six months. I'm not aware. But if your toes, I would think that if your toes are curling from spasticity and your hand is fisting from spasticity, that this could help you. And
Yeah,
if you
that sounds very promising.
if anybody's interested, Dr. Paul Winston is the doctor. If you Google him, he's at Island Health. You can email Island Health, and the doctor you can set up a virtual visit with them. Probably get one within the next week or two because they're pretty quick, and they can assess you over the phone and see if you're a good candidate.
Thank you. And you said you didn't have to pay for the procedure, you just had to go there.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Great. And that's why, so I went, like, my physiatrist, and it turned out my physiatrist here in Toronto, she's originally from Victoria and she knew this doctor. So when I asked her about it, she didn't know much about the procedure. So she said, I'm going to call him and find out more. So she called him and she said, Lara, it sounds amazing. No guarantee. She goes, but I don't think you've got nothing to lose. And
Yes.
because we made it into like a mini vacation, it was really like, okay, what have I got to lose? Nothing. So, and everything to gain. And so I went with high hopes, some expectations, but I was really trying to calm my expectations. And then when I came back, it took a long time to see any. I didn't see any kind of real improvement until September. So that was 3 months, July, August, 3 months later. For the first 3 months, I was stretching every day. And my friends would say, do you see any improvement? Like, no, because all I'm doing is stretching. Just stretching. I'm not seeing anything. So it wasn't until September, maybe October, that I started to see, more passive range of motion. Measurements were done in September, and they said, you've improved by 30%. I'm like, hey, woohoo! But I'm not in this for passive range of motion. I'm in this for active movement. And I videotaped. I've been videotaping my journey, like my bicep movements and stuff. So I videotaped me in November doing a bicep curl, and I videotaped me a couple of weeks ago. And when I saw it, I'm like, wow. I mean, I knew I could feel it because I could feel how high I'm getting. But when I showed it to my physiotherapist, he was like, wow. And he said, the amount of gains that you've made in the past 6 months, he goes, you're going to double your progress in the next 4 months. So giving me hope to keep going, that it's working. The 3 hours a day is working.
So you mentioned it took 3 months for you to see the progress. How long does the injection last? I'm sure
Minimum 6 to 9 months.
Last 6 to 9 months. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lara, for sharing your story.
You're very welcome.